You're listening to the What's Happening podcast with Gary Watts.
Good morning. I'm here with Shelly Maharry of the Community Foundation of Johnson County, which is an incredible organization, and she's here to talk about it today. Good morning, Shelly.
Hi, Gary.
How are you?
Good morning. Thanks so much for the invitation.
You bet. I'm glad to have you. Well, let's just start talking about yourself a little bit, where you come from, how you got to the foundation, just a little background, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. You know, I laugh that I'm a true Iowa farm girl.
All right.
My sphere of influence is about a 40-mile radius from here. So I grew up in Muscatine.
Okay.
So Muscatine's my hometown, and we lived, my family still lives on a family farm about 15 miles north of Muscatine. So,
Really?
you know, I can get out there and work in the farm field or help out wherever I'm needed.
Can you drive a tractor?
I can.
All right.
I can.
Plant corn.
And I'm really good at driving stick shift.
Oh, really?
Anything. So
Really?
it's a little known fact about
Good
me
for
that
you.
people wouldn't expect.
A lot of people can't say that.
That's right. That's
So-
right. So, so left Muscatine and got my undergrad degree at the University of Iowa. And during my time as a student, I got a student job working at University of Iowa hospitals and clinics. And that student job sent me on a path that I'm so incredibly grateful for. I worked all through my undergrad career at UIHC. My first jobs were working in patient registration. So I got to learn what clinics were in the hospital, and I got to learn patient insurance and lots of details about the patient experience. And moving lots of details forward, I was able to really have a career at UIHC for 15 years before I moved into the work of community foundations.
So patient registration, is that as you come in the front desk?
Yeah,
Kind of
exactly.
you check in there first to find out.
Exactly. It used to be the big command module
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
main lobby, A through L, M through Z check-in. So that was my first student job, and it just was a really wonderful opportunity. Moving forward, after I graduated, I was able to get a position working as a patient advocate. So when patients had complications about their experience in the hospital or needed additional assistance navigating complex health situations, we'd jump in and help them. And so that was also a wonderful experience. But I worked my way up to the director of patient relations and service excellence at UIHC. And that work, which I loved dearly, it really allowed me to have a connection learning about grateful patients and their experience in philanthropy, because my role had a connection with the UI Center for Advancement, the Grateful Patient Program, and donors who were so incredibly generous to the remarkable work happening, in the hospital with world cutting-edge researchers. And so my heart said, that is philanthropy. Working with donors is a piece that I really want to explore. And while I was working at UIHC, I had a wonderful opportunity to join the board of directors of the Community Foundation of Greater Muscatine. And that's how I received my first experience working in community foundations. And I instantly fell in love. I loved that there was a model of an organization that's sole purpose is to do good in the community and help connect donors who want to give back to vehicles and opportunities of giving. And so was a board member and then had the opportunity to join staff. And so I was at the Community Foundation of Greater Muscatine for 5 years before I came to Johnson County in 2018. And so actually tomorrow is my 5th year anniversary at the Community Foundation here.
We should have had a cake.
Next time.
So, yeah.
Next time.
A couple of things I picked up on there is obviously a farm background. We're from Iowa. 85, 90% of our economy is agriculture. And I've never met any. I think if you have an ag background, you learn how to work hard as a young lady.
Yeah.
I'm sure. And, I always say I've never met a lazy farmer. There's always something to do on a farm.
Right.
And then the other thing about University of Iowa, when you do have cancer or you've had a serious injury and you see the caring that goes on with the nurses, with the docs, with everybody that works over there and the research funding that comes into Iowa, what I think sometimes we take it for granted of the phenomenal health care that we have right here in Johnson County for the state of Iowa, for everybody.
Yeah.
It's simply amazing. And I can see where people, want to give, especially after they've had an experience that they think, well, you know what, I want to give back so maybe somebody else doesn't have to suffer with what you went through or whatever. And I think that's a good start of it. So I'm glad you brought up University of Iowa. We can't say enough. I had a friend that was telling me once, it was about 10 years ago, he had a stent put in, and it was 40 minutes or from the time he left. He was on the east side of Iowa City. He got into the hospital to the U, and they took care of him. They did a stent. The whole thing was about 40 minutes. If it had went a whole lot longer, he wouldn't have made it. The week before, he's visiting his son in the middle of Montana.
Wow.
Well, if you think about that, he wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
So some of the stuff that we just take for granted, it's so cool here. So
yeah, it's a double bonus because one, we have world-class healthcare right in our back door, which is amazing, but also the talented workforce that's at the university are also the people that attend fundraisers and give charitably and volunteer. So the university's impact in our area is so strong.
And the amount of research. It's a research hospital, so they're constantly bringing in federal money and going through things to make it better for everybody. So exactly. It's a great place. So now you're at Muscatine. You get to Iowa City, 2018, or you're in the Community Foundation of Johnson County.
Right.
So one of the things that I don't know if people know about is tell us a little bit the mechanics of the foundation. Tell us how it works.
Sure.
Tell us what you do as the president and CEO.
Yeah. So a community foundation is a 501c3 charitable nonprofit organization. Our organization is a nonprofit. But what we do is we create what are called funds that are intended to hold monies for a specific charitable cause or a field of interest, and then we oversee the grant making from that fund. So you can think about the Community Foundation like a big pie. And right now, our big pie of the Community Foundation is about $50 million of charitable resources that are overseen by our board of directors at the Community Foundation. And so that pie totals about $50 million, but they're made up of lots of little slices. And each one of those slices does a different type of charitable work. It might represent a family's individual foundation for their own charitable giving, which means that they put money in the Community Foundation, and when they do that, that's the tax-deductible gift to charity because we are a 501c3. And then we come alongside the family on their own time for their own interest on what they would like to grant that money that they put into their fund to. And it can be any number of organizations. Our threshold is really the organization needs to be a 501c3 tax-exempt nonprofit organization, but it can be an organization located right here at home in Johnson County or within the state or around the country, as long as the money is being used for a charitable purpose, which is what we oversee.
So who writes the grants? Do you do that? The board does it? I mean, you probably have several agencies that come to you that need money, and then how do you get that information out? Tell me a little bit about the grants and how that works.
So when all of our funds are actively grant making all year long. Okay. And so if a family has a fund, for example, they might grant make from their fund throughout the year, different times of year. Maybe they want to make a gift to support food insecurity. So we might direct them to nonprofit organizations to make gifts to, maybe Shelter House or Coralville Food Pantry, whatever the need is.
Right.
But the important piece is the donor advises us on how they would like to use those charitable dollars.
Right.
And then we write the grant checks. So our staff at the Community Foundation are issuing those grant checks. And then monthly during our board meetings, the board reviews all of the grants that are made.
So if you have your own fund, you contribute to the Community Foundation, and then you can advise you to say, I want to spend it in food or domestic violence, whatever your program is that you have a passion for. And then you write the checks out of it, and then you also invest their funds so that fund grows?
Yeah, if it's an endowed fund, we will invest that.
Okay.
But if I could back up just a quick moment,
Sure.
something that really differentiates us, your audience may have heard of the type of fund called a donor-advised fund. And that's a common charitable giving vehicle that donors start and create. They're also available at very large financial institutions like a Fidelity or a Charles Schwab. They offer donor-advised funds. Having a donor-advised fund, though, at a local community foundation is really doing several things. It's keeping your charitable dollars local. We're holding them at a local community foundation. You have instant access to the needs of the community foundation. And if you don't know where you want to grant to, you have the staff of the community foundation who can help you direct to areas of greatest need, whatever their charitable interests are. And when you have a donor-advised fund at a large firm, you don't get that kind of support, and that's something that we're really proud of. The other thing is, we charge a fee for service. That's how we generate revenue for our operations. So we don't see ourselves as a fundraising competitor with other nonprofit organizations because our fee for service model is different. But that fee that is charged on a donor advised fund that we take in supports local jobs. So you can see how that might be full circle, right? Having a fund locally, it provides nonprofit grant support and also supports, the local nonprofit sector here in Johnson County.
I don't know if the listenership realizes the needs of just, in the state, Johnson County. It's just incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how those needs change, how, each year, monthly maybe, and then how many, we probably get used to our lifestyle and they don't realize there's homeless, there's shelter house, there's all kinds of things that there's such a need for. Can you talk a little bit about needs?
Yeah, sure. So one of the greatest assets of a community foundation is that we hold the endowment funds for many nonprofit organizations. Now, you can think about when you give to an organization directly, they're likely going to use that fund immediately.
Right.
But they've partnered with the community foundation because we are really the long-term holder, sustainability sort of partner for an organization. We hold the endowment fund. And the endowment fund takes in gifts. Those gifts are invested. They grow over time. And the spending from that endowment is limited to not more than 5% per year. So it provides a steady stream of revenue to the organization to help them be sustainable into the future.
Is the 5% an IRS ruling? You have to spend at least 5% of the endowment?
That's a really great question because in Iowa, community foundations have a really special role to play with endowment building. And that was created through the Iowa legislature with a program called the Endow Iowa Tax Credit Program. So in 2003, there was a study that came out from the Iowa State Extension talking about the transfer of wealth and the detriment that transfer of wealth in particular would have in Iowa. So you have great-grandparents, grandparents who called Iowa home, and then maybe their children lived here, but then the next generation is moving away.
Right.
When there's this wealth transfer, those dollars are leaving the state of Iowa. And the legislature really wanted to do something about that and created the Endow Iowa Tax Credit Program to incentivize giving to endowment funds to support nonprofit organizations in the state of Iowa. So that tax credit provides a 25% tax credit to an Iowa donor. So they have to be an Iowa taxpayer because this is a state of Iowa tax credit for gifts made to endowments held only at Iowa community foundations. And as part of the agreement, when the endowment is set up, the Endow Iowa Tax Credit Program says that not more than 5% can be spent annually. So that's kind of where the cap is. And so our goal at the Community Foundation is to have donors make additional gifts into endowment fund, right? Strengthen numbers. You can take your $25 and put it into an endowment fund and watch it grow and let it last forever. Yeah. I mean, that's a wonderful way to give.
Well, think about the tax, just purely from if you fill out your tax return and you owe the state of Iowa $10,000 in state tax, you can get a 25% deduction, so you could, in essence, give you guys, the foundation, $2,500.
Yeah.
Why I'd rather give it probably to the foundation. Well, it's all good. I mean, the state of Iowa has to have tax too to generate everything that the state does. But think about that. Some of that's diverted to local resources, so you can give away, some of the money here to local folks that need it.
And when you think about giving it to the Community Foundation, you really think about giving it to that organization that has their fund with us, because because that fund, that endowment, will only be used to provide support back to that nonprofit organization.
I think one thing to think about in an endowment, and I think we might have a slide too, Austin, we can pull that up, but like if you put $1 million in the Community Foundation of Johnson County and you're only spending $5,000 a year, you got a tremendous amount that could be invested. And if you invest it right, it's going to grow and it'll replenish that you're giving away the 5%. So if you get a 6% return, and you're giving away 5%, you're ahead. Yeah. So you got a real nice resource in perpetuity, hopefully.
Yeah.
If you invest it right, to where agencies can come to you folks and know that it's a consistent source of funding.
That's right. That's right. Another real source of pride, speaking of investment of those endowment funds, is our board's commitment to keeping those charitable dollars invested locally. So we only partner with our local financial institutions. We're always interested in adding more, so if there are others that want to join us. But we have real pride that we try very hard to keep all of our efforts, locally here. And I will also point out that we're one of the few community foundations that is our sole purpose is to serve one county. Other community foundations they might be a host and they have affiliate foundations under them. So we're a unique community foundation in that our sole purpose, mission, effort is all focused on making Johnson County the very best place to live.
Well, I know you got a fantastic board. Do you want to tell us a little bit about, is it 20 folks?
We have, it's a 21-member board of directors. Okay. And when we look at adding new board members to the board of directors, we really want to ensure that the makeup of our board represents so many things. Mm-hmm. It needs to represent geographic needs. So we're not just Iowa City, Coralville centric. Right. North Liberty, even Swisher, Tiffin, Lone Tree. We're a unique. We have metro areas, and also we have really rural areas, which I'm a farm girl, so that's has my heart too. Right. So look at demographics. We look at where people work, their career expertise. Maybe they're in finance, or maybe they're in marketing, or maybe they're in real estate, whatever that might be. And then we have a really strong commitment to want our board to be ethnically diverse as well. And, I will say one of the most proud moments that I've had as being a leader of the Community Foundation is in 2020, we amended our organization's bylaws to ensure that the makeup of our board of directors would always represent the demographic makeup of Johnson County.
Oh, that's neat.
So we really have a commitment towards diversity that way.
Great. How often does your board meet?
Our board does meet monthly. And, one of the shining silver linings, I guess, that came out of the pandemic is how much work we can get done actually over Zoom. So we really have transitioned we have 4 in-person board meetings per year. They're generally at the end of the quarter. We take a deep dive into our strategic plan and sort of make sure that we're all pointing to the same North Star of where we want to take the Community Foundation. But otherwise, our monthly meetings are held over Zoom.
In your monthly meetings, do you have certain committees, or who works on how the money's invested? Or is that something you do? in the stock market, mutual funds? How does that work, the investment side?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this is specifically for those endowment funds. You know,
Right.
those endowment funds are all pooled together for the purpose of investment. That's about $43 million of our total assets are endowed of the total. We have a dedicated finance committee, and finance committee is made up of both board members, and community members who have finance expertise. We can have them come and join the finance committee. The finance committee has been led by our longtime treasurer, Dean Price, just a trusted advisor to so many families in our area, and he's a sidekick to me that I couldn't have had success in my role without him. So I have
Dean's
great
the best.
Yeah,
He's fantastic.
He really is. So the finance committee really sets the overall investment policy, and that policy provides parameters of how much in, say, equities funds could be, or how much parameters for fixed income we should be invested in. But then we really turn that policy over to those local financial advisors who have partnered with us, and we let them invest the money. And then, obviously they're providing us with quarterly returns. They provide an annual presentation of their overall performance to us. That generally happens in January. But I can't speak highly enough of our local institutions who have partnered with us. They have such a heart for knowing what we're trying to do, and grow those charitable resources, and are great partners.
So the goal is to grow it and not lose it, right?
Right.
Don't lose any principal.
And, we also know that there are ebbs and flows in that, but we keep our eye on the prize, knowing that these are long-term resources that we want to be available for generations to come.
It's like right now, CDs are 5%, and they used to be 0.
Exactly.
So, a different way to do it. So, Austin, do you have anything you want to talk? This is, we got a slide up. Shelly, you want to talk about Endow Iowa tax credit? You hit that a little bit about the 25%, but
yeah.
You want to?
So again, for Iowa taxpayers who make gifts to endowment funds, and that can be a new fund that they want to start, or it can be an existing fund that we already hold, and we have over 200 funds that are available choices, and we would work with someone if they had an interest. Mm-hmm. But the gift has to be made to a qualified community foundation in Iowa, which we are. And the maximum credit that's available to any one individual is $100,000. So that means that gifts of up to $400,000 would be eligible for the tax credit, because 25% of $400,000 is $100,000. And if you are a couple, each of you individually can make gifts. So potentially a couple filing jointly could have, each of you could have a $100,000 tax credit available. And then we submit the application to the Iowa Department of the Iowa Economic Development Authority for the donor. So we take care of all that paperwork. But the application must be submitted within 12 months of the date of gift. Okay. And we'll work through that. Other things that are important to know about the Endow Iowa tax credit is the credits are available on a first-come, first-served basis. And so we can never guarantee to any one donor that you will get the tax credit. Our language is that you may be eligible, and we will work with them to figure out where they are in the timing.
Who grants that? The state of Iowa?
It is. So can't thank our state legislature enough, because annually they appropriate $6 million of credits to this program. And so that $6 million that's available is what is available on the first come, first served basis.
Is that consistent over time?
It has. Yeah, it has.
Yeah.
It has. And,
good.
It has been the return on investment that $6 million offers in the state of Iowa annually. I mean, the growth is, I think the last number I saw was, $700 million of investment has been generated just by this program alone.
Having the tax credit, give it a seed money, kind of let people get into it.
I mean, if you're gonna be generous and give, why not get a little
credit,
incentive?
Right.
Yeah.
What else do we have, Austin, that kind of look at here? Shelley can talk about. Is that talking about what the foundation is?
Yeah, I just this is a little graphic that we sort of have
like
that kind of explains. So the yellow area there, donor makes a gift to the community foundation.
Right.
We are the 501c3 tax-exempt nonprofit organization.
Right.
We're going to hold the fund for you. So the funder is established, and when I say a fund is established, a fund can be for any type of charitable purpose, whether you know today what it will be or if you don't know yet what it will be. The monies can be held, and then we partner together with you to find out what your charitable interests are. We will, after the fund's created, if it's an endowed fund, it's going to grow over time. And remember, I talked about how our model is different, that we charge a fee for service. So every time a fund is generated, it allows for the community foundation to grow in impact. Because when we grow, so is the community foundation's ability to ourselves as an organization do good in the community. And a couple examples of that, we were able to provide a grant that is supporting the Better Together 2030 initiative. I'm not sure if you've heard about that yet.
I haven't.
And that will be a great next podcast for you to jump into with Katie Gerlach. But it was the creation and the planning for Johnson County's 2030 strategic vision. So it helped to lean into that. We've created an emergency response fund that allows the Community Foundation to provide grants to nonprofit organizations who are working on the front lines when there's an emergency. Tornadoes, floods, COVID recovery, like that. We provide, we as Community Foundation lean into providing funds for that. We also created a fund that's called the Inclusive Johnson County Fund. And that fund is designed to provide grant funding to nonprofit organizations who are wanting to expand diversity, equity, and inclusion opportunities within Johnson County. So those are a few ways that you can see when the Community Foundation grows, so is our ability as an organization to make other good work happen. And it just seems like a full circle proposition to me. Yeah. You're doing charitable work. You're supporting, another local nonprofit organization. We're coming alongside you for your charitable gift giving, and it's just really a full circle.
How large a staff do you have?
So we have 4 full-time staff. That includes myself right now.
Okay, so you stay pretty busy, I imagine.
We do.
There's a lot going on. So there's a golf event coming up. I think that's Monday afternoon, isn't it? And that raises, what, $25,000 or so? And that's going to, you have a couple events a year. Is that one of them?
So we, again, as I mentioned, the Community Foundation, we have a different model, and that is we charge fee for service. That's how we pay for our operations.
Right.
We do one golf fundraiser a year, but that golf fundraiser that we do is the Tee Off for Philanthropy, Tee Off for Community golf event. It's always held it's the Monday before Memorial Day each year. Yeah. And 100% of net proceeds from that golf event go into our Growing Better Together endowment fund. That fund strictly makes grants into nonprofit organizations in Johnson County. So each year, as the needs of the county change, that grant or grants from that fund will go directly to meet those emerging needs. And you asked another question that I didn't get to, but I wanted to make sure I touched on, was you asked about how do you know about what the needs of the community are, each year? Well, one is, we hold many nonprofit organizations endowment funds. So we have a strong relationship with our nonprofit organizations in Johnson County. We love being their partner. We have started a group that's called the Johnson County Nonprofit Alliance, which is a networking group for nonprofit organizations for best practices in nonprofit work, but also just sharing information and having good relationships with the nonprofit organizations in our area. So they tell us what those needs are. The other great tool that we use is annually we hold a community grant-making application process. And this is when nonprofit organizations submit grant applications for their needs to the Community Foundation. Those grant applications are vetted, and then we look over all of the funds that we have to see if there are any matches with those needs. So that's a way in real time each year we get this influx of valuable information from these grant applications to identify needs. And we use that information all year long.
So you see, you're obviously in contact with all the agencies, nonprofits.
Yeah.
And so you're constantly there. They might be through grants, or they're talking to you, hey, we need a need here,
Yeah.
or we're raising money for this over here. So what a great resource. I mean, obviously United Way has tremendous agencies that they give money to.
Yeah.
And the foundation, it seems to me like you over kind of look at all. I mean, you're seeing specific giving, wishes of families, endowments, investing. And then I just think, when I look at what you guys do, how exciting it is, because you would have such an attitude of gratitude. So it kind of rhymes, but
Yeah.
how can you be frustrated when there's so much to give and so many neat people you work with,
Yeah.
and how much good you're doing for the community? To
Yeah.
me, it's amazing what you do. It's amazing.
I tell you, it's I feel very blessed every day. It's
Yeah.
such a wonderful space to be in.
You got a great group. You got a great board, and state of Iowa stepping up with the tax
Yeah.
deduction there. You have the grant writing. You got all kinds of good things happening. So.
Yeah, I like to tell people that I want them to think about the Community Foundation to be top of mind anytime there is good work to be done in Johnson County.
Right.
And a specific example of that, we are super proud to be a partner of the North Liberty Centennial Park Development Project.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I know. It's going to be so very exciting. And so we hold a fund on behalf of the North Liberty Centennial Park group that donors can make gifts to support the park. And donors can be, businesses, they can be banks, they can be individuals, whatever the situation might be. But we will hold those funds, and then they'll be used to support the park.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's hard, as you're running along and you're in business or whatever you do, and you just don't think about giving, and what great ideas you had this morning, and we need to give more. It's such a prosperous county, university, and all the things we got going on here is just amazing. We take a lot of it for granted, and then there's such a need. There's so many people that need financial support, and then you kind of gather it up and put it into one area that you can write grants and understand it better and help people if they do want to give to you.
Exactly. And, another sweet spot of the Community Foundation that people don't really think about, and I want people to be more mindful of, is the Community Foundation wants to be your lifetime giving partner. And when I say lifetime, that even extends beyond your life. Giving through a community foundation through planned giving is a wonderful way for you to support the charities that you have loved during your lifetime and allow grants to continue going to those organizations. But you have a fiduciary partner on your side ensuring that the dollars that you gave through maybe it's your bequest or your estate plan are overseen and administered only in the way that you've requested. You've got a 21-member board of directors working on your behalf to make sure that happens.
Well, in a way, you make it easy
Yeah.
to contribute. You contribute, and then you professionals that are in it and working with other companies or agencies that need the money, you can just handle it for them.
Yeah.
And just, in other words, write a check and kind of go away and send them a report, kind
Yeah.
of.
And when we think about giving too, we can handle complex giving situations. Those can be, your gifts of appreciated securities, but we can also do real estate transactions that are charitable. Lots of more complex giving situations we can administer on for a donor.
Yeah, it's amazing. So you had some other things that we wrote down here. Supports community events like Coralville Asian Fest, Gentine celebrations, Summer of Arts, Soul and Beef Days, North Liberty Blues and Barbecue. So just something going on all the time you support.
Yeah, so some of those are twofold. One is because we are a 501c3, we can become a fiscal agent, so we can sort of lend our 501c3 to an organization doing good work in the community. maybe they're not a 501c3, but they would love to be able to have anyone who supports their work to be able to get the tax deduction
Right.
for their gift. So the Coralville Asian Fest Fund, we've done just that. So we said that's wonderful work. Promotes diversity, equity, and inclusion in our county, and we want to help support that. So we created the fund, and that held all of the funds that came in to support that work. And I don't know if anybody went to the Coralville Asian Fest, but it was amazing this weekend. They just really did a super, super job. But then, as I mentioned, fees for service, the community foundation grows over time, and we reinvest those dollars back into the community. When you see the Community Foundation has sponsored Soul and Beef Days, or you see the Community Foundation as a sponsor of the North Liberty Blues and Barbecue Fest, that is your reinvestment in the Community Foundation being put to work.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. Where would we be without the support? I mean, it puts a lot of strain on each municipality to fund these things. So that's really a nice resource.
And when you think about, again, I use the metaphor of coming full circle all the time, but the idea of economic development in communities has totally changed. It used to be the model, and I'm going to give this full credit to Kate Moreland, who was the head of the Iowa City Area Development Group. She gave a speech one time and really talked about how it used to be that businesses, large companies would locate somewhere and they would draw the talent to them. That's not so much the case anymore. Our younger generations, they really want to build quality of life first. They want to live in a place where education is top notch and that, communities are inclusive and welcoming. And being able to provide cultural enrichment opportunities in the community, I think is in an economic development strategy.
You're right.
People are going to want to live where it's a great place to be.
Right. Well, I can't think of a better place to be.
Yeah.
Than Iowa City in Johnson County.
For sure.
Raising your family, your children, it's just got so much to offer. And hopefully we don't take it too much for granted, right?
Right.
So,
right.
Well, Shelly, this has been, do you have anything else to add today? Anything you can think of? All the work you do.
Yeah. I would just encourage people that we are, well, first of all, we're a super friendly group at the Community Foundation. So if you ever wanted to explore what the Community Foundation is, the types of funds that we offer, how we might be able to help them, it's important for everyone to know that our advice that we give, when we do give, advice about charitable gift planning or whatever that might be, it is with the intention to promote charitable giving in any form. So if it happens that the fund's going to come to the Community Foundation, well, that's wonderful. But at the end of the day, if it meant that it made our community better, then that's the win we're looking for.
Well, this has been fantastic. I'm so glad you came in and explained at Community Foundation of Johnson County. What a great tool for everybody to use. And I'm sure your group would love to handle anything that they can come your way, whether it's information, advice, money, whatnot. So
absolutely.
And I got to say a shout out to the board. I mean, those people donate their time and expertise, and it sounds like you've got a very diverse and great board that helps you function.
Yeah, so. They're wonderful.
So Shelly, congratulations, and it's been fun to having you here.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Thank you.